January 31st, 2000. Atlanta was still buzzing from Super Bowl weekend. Music, cameras, celebrities, NFL stars celebrating another season. But before the night ended, two young men were dead, and one of the biggest rising stars in football was suddenly at the center of a murder investigation. That star was Ray Lewis.
Just hours after the 2000 Super Bowl, Ray Lewis and two friends, Joseph Sweeting and Reginald Oakley, are charged with murder.
At the time, Lewis was only 24 years old. He wasn't just another linebacker in the league. He was already the emotional heartbeat of the Baltimore Ravens defense. Intense, vocal, and fearless. Drafted in 1996, he quickly became known for his sideline-to-sideline speed and violent tackling ability. Coaches praised his football IQ. Teammates fed off his energy. He looked destined for greatness, but that night in Atlanta threatened to erase all of it.
Favre under pressure and goes down. What a hit from Ray Lewis.
After attending a party following the Super Bowl, Lewis and members of his entourage were involved in an altercation outside a nightclub. The argument escalated. Knives were drawn. When it was over, Jacinth Baker and Richard Lawler had been stabbed and later died from their injuries. Within days, Ray Lewis was charged with murder. The headlines were explosive. NFL star charged in double homicide. Sports networks that once showed his highlights now showed courtroom sketches. Analysts debated his character instead of his stats. Sponsors distanced themselves. The league watched carefully. If convicted, Lewis could face life in prison. For months, the case dominated the offseason. Lewis maintained he did not commit the stabbings. Eventually, he agreed to a plea deal, pleading guilty to obstruction of justice in exchange for testifying against the two other men accused in the incident. The murder charges against Lewis were dropped. The two co-defendants were later acquitted. Legally, he avoided the worst-case scenario, but in the court of public opinion, the damage lingered. The NFL fined him $250,000, one of the largest fines at the time. Critics questioned his leadership. Opposing fans booed him relentlessly. Some believed he escaped something far more serious. Others believed he was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. Either way, the 2000 season became more than football. It became a test of survival. Most players facing that kind of scrutiny would shrink. The pressure alone could break a locker room leader. Every road game meant hostile crowds. Every interview meant uncomfortable questions. Every mistake on the field would be magnified. Instead, Ray Lewis delivered the greatest season of his career. The 2000 Baltimore Ravens defense became historically dominant. They allowed just 165 total points across 16 games, one of the lowest totals in modern NFL history. They recorded 4 shutouts. They went 5 straight games without allowing a touchdown. Opposing offenses looked defeated before kickoff. At the center of it all was Ray Lewis.
Underneath, complete to George. Good open field tackle by Ray Lewis.
He wasn't just racking up tackles, though he led the league. He was orchestrating the defense like a conductor, calling adjustments, diagnosing plays before the snap, hitting with a controlled fury that reminded everyone why he was elite in the first place. By season's end, he was named NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Then came the playoffs, and with them, an opportunity for something bigger than redemption. In January 2001, the Ravens advanced to Super Bowl 35 against the New York Giants. The world was watching, not just to see if Baltimore would win, but to see Ray Lewis under the brightest lights imaginable. The game was a defensive masterclass. The Ravens overwhelmed the Giants from the opening whistle. Big hits, turnovers, total control. Lewis finished with 5 tackles and 2 pass deflections, but his impact went beyond statistics. He set the tone. He commanded the field. When the final seconds ticked off the clock, the Ravens had won 34-7.
That's it, the Baltimore Ravens, for the first time in their franchise history.
Ray Lewis was named Super Bowl MVP. 1 year after standing in a courtroom facing murder charges, he stood on a podium holding the Lombardi Trophy. It was one of the most dramatic turnarounds in sports history. But his story didn't end there. Over the next decade, Lewis transformed his image. He became known as one of the most passionate leaders in football. His pregame speeches became legendary, emotional, theatrical, unforgettable. His iconic squirrel dance before kickoff became part of NFL culture. Younger players looked to him not just for guidance on defense, but for intensity and preparation. Still, controversy never fully disappeared. Questions about that night in Atlanta followed him throughout his career. Interviews would occasionally revisit it. Critics never completely moved on. Yet season after season, Lewis continued to build a Hall of Fame resume, 13 Pro Bowls, multiple All-Pro selections, and a reputation as one of the greatest linebackers in NFL history. Then came 2012. At 37 years old, Lewis suffered a torn triceps early in the season. Many thought his career was over. Instead, he announced that this would be his final ride. The Ravens rallied around him. Behind quarterback Joe Flacco playing the best football of his career, Baltimore surged through the playoffs. They upset top-seeded teams, they silenced hostile stadiums, and somehow, once again, they reached the Super Bowl. This time, it was Super Bowl 47 against the San Francisco 49ers. The game became instantly iconic. A 34-minute power outage stopped play. Momentum swung wildly. The 49ers mounted a furious comeback. The tension was suffocating. In the final moments, with the championship on the line, the Ravens' defense held firm. When the clock hit 0, Ray Lewis walked off the field a 2-time Super Bowl champion.
And that wraps it up. The Baltimore Ravens win Super Bowl 47.
From the chaos of 2000 to the confetti of 2012. In 2018, he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. During his emotional speech, he spoke about faith, accountability, and perseverance. To supporters, he symbolized resilience, a man who rebuilt his life and career under unimaginable pressure. To critics, his legacy would always be complicated. And that complexity is what makes his story so powerful. Ray Lewis isn't remembered solely for tackles or trophies. He's remembered for surviving a storm that could have destroyed everything, for responding to doubt with dominance, for turning one of the darkest chapters imaginable into a Hall of Fame career. Very few athletes ever face a moment that threatens both their freedom and their future. Even fewer return to become legends.